Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. We're excited to have you today. Over the next hour, Scott, April, and I are going to share some of the most impactful announcements coming out of the fourth annual Power Platform Community Conference. We will do our best to compress a week's worth of content that was shared over an invigorating keynote and 110 sessions. We'll not certainly cover everything, but we have an army of passionate and like-minded individuals that are in the Q&A section of the webinar that can help answer any of your questions. We'll do our best to address what we can, but we encourage you to connect with your Microsoft contacts to go deeper into any of the technologies or maybe to answer some of the commercial concerns if you feel that we've left anything out on the table. For those of you that are wondering if the session is being recorded or if these slides will be made available, the answer is absolutely yes. We will be posting the recording from this session along with the majority of these slides and even some content from the conference to the Master Series Hub over the next couple of days. If you aren't familiar with the Master Series, it is a virtual education series for the community that covers topics surrounding all things Microsoft business applications and AI innovation. It is intended for AI enthusiasts and business-led developers and organizational leaders. On the Master Series Hub, you'll find links to upcoming sessions, recordings, and assets from previous sessions, and really just general communications. Also on the site, there is a link with a brief form that you can complete that will add you to any sort of communications that will come from the Master Series about upcoming sessions or activities that we have. And if you want to remain in the know, I highly recommend signing up. So let's kick things off by talking about the community that brought us all together last week.
Yeah, so this, Power Platform Conference was a great event. We can't talk about it without talking about the agent hack, I think, and like the community aspect of that. So this was kind of an ambitious goal by David Abu and that whole team on marketing there to try to break a Guinness World Record, right? See if we can, for the most people, building agents and a hackathon there, but also more importantly, to bring together the community, to bring together Microsoft folks, MVPs and all that to just get experience building agents. So it was pretty cool to take part of it. I know I was a coach for that. I helped judge some of the entries there. We had 1,100 people, I think, actually participate in this agent hack, which was amazing. So, and lots of good entries. I know, Scott, you're a judge too, and a coach as well. I don't know your thoughts on the hack, but I thought it was just really great to see that many people actively building. And a lot of people that hadn't even built agents before, just getting started.
It was amazing, just the buzz in the room. And yeah, so we were helping people on tables, but also seeing people help each other as well. That was what's so cool to see people just going, okay, what problems am I going to solve? What agents are going to build? And so I think sometimes you just need that space, don't you? Just to say, you can just build anything. And that was what was so cool, is that people were swapping ideas and going, how could we do this? How could we solve that problem? And just that, the sheer number of people, I've never been in a hack like that before. So yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, the amount of different solutions that people built to and that were able to be built in like, that a few hours span there, we had what, 4 hours, was really cool to see. And then just the ideas that people brought to the table. And then yeah, people helping each other was really cool. We had awards given out for allies to be able to people that helped others and really that community mindset. And I think that's what really makes this event special, right? Is that mixture of it's a community conference. So learning from not only the community, but also from Microsoft, kind of what's new, what's coming, what's top of their mind too. And that's what made it really special to me.
I'm
And
really
plenty
bummed
of
I
Red
missed it.
Bull and
Was there?
pizza. That was the other thing,
Of
It was
course.
fueled by Red Bull and pizza. Not
For
sponsored.
sure.
Did anything stand out to you guys in particular as far as a type of use case that somebody brought to the table?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me is that people were really getting stuck in and using like MCP servers
Oh, wow.
and multi-agent as well and multimodal. So people were like really pushing the boundaries of what agents can do. And I think that's very reflective of what the stage we're in. We've all had this kind of chat kind of interface with our agents, being able to chat over data, knowledge, all that kind of stuff. But people are really now starting to push that. Like, what more can we do? How can we make this more productive?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the event as a whole too, right? I mean, there was so many people from across the globe. I don't know if you want to go through like like the numbers here,
Yeah.
but they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was unprecedented growth and engagement. It brought together well over 7,400 attendees from 94 different countries around the world, marking a strong 22% year-over-year increase in growth in the platform or in the conferences as a whole. Experts delivered on 110 different sessions. I know you guys did several, and 23 workshops that really drove a lot of excitement and enthusiasm about the future of the Power Platform.
Yeah, I really love that mix of, like I said, Microsoft and community sessions. And of course, the event, it started off with a keynote from Charles and lots of demos, lots of great demos from different people from the product team there, from, apps and agents and all of that. So what I'm kind of dying to know is from each of you, from just starting with the keynote, and we'll start there and go from there. What was kind of your biggest takeaway from the keynote?
Scott, what did you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw that picture, right? So that was just an amazing picture to see so many people in that arena. It's just insane. It felt like
Yeah.
like a huge stadium gig with all the lights and everyone had these wristbands that lit up at different times, and it's just the vibe in that place was electric. And there was a few controversial kind of statements, I think, and I know Jeff, you had a kind of a reaction to one of those statements, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
possibly. I think possibly the most impactful part of Lamana's keynote was when he flashed this slide right here. So, as a solution engineer that works very closely with Microsoft's low-code suite of tools, this hit me right out the gate. Low-code, as we know it, is dead. But what exactly did he mean by that? I think we understand that intelligence is now very abundant. We now live in an era of very pervasive intelligence, and the real differentiator is having knowledge. It's knowing how to apply it creatively and responsibly at that. The future belongs to those who can harness this amplified intelligence to reimagine how they work and what they work on, how to innovate faster, and to solve problems at scale.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the solving of the problems. I think that's always been a real key part of what we do in Power Platform. It's really being able to solve problems in teams of people from all different backgrounds, different skills, all coming together. Be it fusion, be it being just simply just getting in there, solving problems quickly, and then scaling it up to then being more of an enterprise. But I loved where the focus around curiosity and creativity in solving problems, because I think this really takes us back to the original first days when we were going into low code. There was that creativity and that experimentation because it was all new. We were like, okay, so we've got this low code platform. What can we do? How far can we push it? And so we went through this incredible period of growth and people learning new things and trying and sharing knowledge. But I think we then entered into a period of time where we almost lost the courage to experiment, I think, because there was this sense of there was too much at risk. We're now about enterprise. We're about building things that really is about engineering. And so that experimentation perhaps fell behind the secondary to delivery, and there was a worry about, oh, well, we don't want to rework anything, we want to make sure it's maintainable. So that natural enterprise shift meant that creativity perhaps did suffer. So I love the fact that we've entered into a new era where we're building on what we had, all of the lessons that we've learned, all of the amazing pieces of technology and features in that managed platform, the Power Platform, giving you things like, governance and scalability and security management and all of the abilities, right? But with a renewed courage to experiment. And so we can iterate quickly. And I think this is what's so cool about AI powered development, is because it allows us to do things much, much quicker. So actually that encourages experimentation, that encourages fast iterations, fail fast, fail often, that kind of ethos. And to do greater things, because then what we can do is we can get to that MVP, the minimal viable product, much, much quicker, and then go on to the really super cool stuff. And yeah, your ideas can be limitless. I think that statement really embodies what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was really exciting to me to see, because I do agree. Like, it felt like, for a little bit there, right? We got into kind of maybe it's stagnant, right? Where it's like everything has to be enterprise. Our creativity, our curiosity was a little bit limited. But I think now, because of AI and all the new features being added, it's almost like kind of how they ended it here, where, it's not necessarily that low code as we know it is dead, changing, that controversial statement. It's more about Power Platform being reborn with AI and all the new functionality and kind of this new way of thinking and building. And it's really leaning into and encouraging us to be more curious, more creative again, and find new ways to reimagine solutions that we may have been already using, have already built, and how can we make those better with some of these new capabilities. And I think that was really a focus too, with a lot of the announcements that we saw in the demos and the keynote as well, is taking kind of that existing, Power Platform infrastructure and kind of turning it up to 11, right, with some new AI functionality and different pieces, and reimagining how we can build things now in this new world that we're in, which is really exciting times. And I think that showed in a lot of the demos there, especially from the Power App side, right? So that's kind of where the demo started in the keynote, right? Was, what does Power Apps look like now in this new world? And I really love kind of what they were talking about there, where it's all about your software and your way of building. So no matter how you want to build applications, whether you do want to do no code, low code, whether you want to get into the whole vibe coding thing, right? There's something for you there, or still, of course, pro code, that whole thing that you were just talking about, Scott, where everyone can come to the table that wants to build something here, and there's something in it for everyone. And really, obviously, that focus being AI being embedded everywhere. So like that was the key, like in all the demos, there was some kind of little AI piece to it and everything that we saw. And I think that's really obvious, especially from like the vibe coding side of things, and some of the announcements and the big things that we saw from the Power App side there, like Gen Pages, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Turning it up to 11, I think that really summed up the whole conference. Actually, it's like, but
Yeah.
you could just be at 10. No, but we've gone to 11. But and Dwayne actually in the chat said that, and there were lasers in the keynote. And there was also in Ryan's closing keynote, there was even confetti cannons. And just if you do have any questions, there are some amazing experts in the chat that will be able to answer some of your questions. So do take that opportunity. But yeah, so Generative Pages, it really continues with that. So the big announcement this week was that Generative Pages has gone into GA in the US region, at least at this stage. And so it kind of shows that reborn message that you were just talking about, April, the Power Platform Reborn, giving actually the commitment to be in GA for Generative Pages, which allows you to use natural language to build what we might have previously called low code pages inside model driven apps. And so a somewhat, if I could say, cheesy strapline there, your vision generated. It does sound a bit, but that's effectively what it is. It's allowing you to create so much quicker by using natural language, and it creates React code, and you see it creating the React code, and then you get to vibe with it. You get to update changes. You can go make edits to the code even now, and you can see differences. So the commitment to making that GA, I think, really does underpin that whole message.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that stood out to me with the whole Gen Pages stuff is, so it's creating a React code, which is cool, which might maybe scare away some of the more, code, low code folks out there. Like, how do I actually edit this and work with this if it's, React code without having to learn a whole new skill set here? But I loved how Ryan in his demo in the keynote showed, well, if it builds this app for you, you can select an object in the app and have it, still tweak it like we would in the normal Power Apps experience, right? We can change the font size with kind of that GUI approach there. So it's kind of that mix and match of using AI to be able to build these beautiful pages now in our model-driven apps, but then also still have that kind of maker classic experience in there as well that we can fall back to.
That's right, because there is now this whole range of different experiences that you can build. So this notion of vibe coding, and it's interesting. I had some really interesting conversations in the corridors, like walking between sessions and at lunch with people, and so many people who have been very much like a Power Effects person, low code, are now learning about React. I mean, they're seeing what these experiences are building because we've got generative pages. And as you say, April, the new Power Apps experience is kind of building entire apps, and that allows you to have some of the things that we know and love from low code and Canvas apps, where you can select items and change the font. But obviously it's in React, and so that's the curiosity, and I think that's the courage to experiment, because people are looking at the React code and going, you know what? I can kind of see what it's doing there. And that then empowers me to be able to go and make new things and actually try and understand and try and learn a bit more about what the code is being building, which then allows you to then sort of as a platform to go and do more and more things. And I think that ultimately is the shift that we're seeing, is that people are not scared of code. I'm wearing my t-shirt, which just says, code is life here, which is specifically because, in the past we have been scared because it's been low code, right? It's about less code. But actually, I think that's the era. We've moved into this era where people are actually doing the same thing that we've done in the past, which is experimenting and learning new things. It's just not being scared about this kind of way of building, this new way of building.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's all about like making code more accessible for everyone to be able to build. And I think this whole like vibe coding concept and being able to meet people where they're at was really applicable in some of the other new announcements that we had. So another big one at the conference was this concept of Microsoft 365 Copilot App Builder. So I think this kind of turned a lot of heads too there. So this is a new way inside of Microsoft 365 Copilot to basically vibe code apps that with the back end of SharePoint lists, right? So this was one that was kind of one of the cool demos there, where you can easily interact, with your Microsoft 365 graph data and your SharePoint list data, and build a nice looking app with that vibe code approach, with, thanks to this kind of Power App, new kind of way of building things there. And I know like one of the things that came up on this was like, okay, we've told people forever, SharePoint's not a data source, why are we now doing this? And Microsoft 365 Copilot kind of offering this approach, but I think it's to really kind of meet two different audiences, right? So like this app builder concept is more about personal and team productivity and being able to have that prompt to app experience with your SharePoint list data, but it's going to be more limited use cases, right? Whereas if you want to do those real enterprise use cases that scale, where you can interact with all the different connectors that we have in the Power Platform, have automation behind the scenes, the scalability of Dataverse, obviously you're still going to go the Power Apps way, but it's just providing another form factor for those that do have kind of smaller, more personal team productivity scenarios, but still want a nice app that they can work with to be able to build. And they had, some good examples of some use cases of where you might use this new app builder capability here in Microsoft 365 Copilot to build, maybe making a proposal, and you need to be able to have an ROI calculator, something like that for more personal productivity applications. So I think this will be interesting to kind of see how this will play out and what use cases people will find for, say, these N365 app builder apps within that experience, and versus Power Apps. But it was pretty cool to see.
It might be a kind of a good way in, right? So as a grow up story, so people might say, hey, this vibe coding thing, great, I can do this now inside M365 at Copilot, and I can build these apps, and then, now actually we want more of an enterprise. We want the scalability. We want all of those other abilities, the connectors, like you say, April, different data sources, and it kind of like allows you to grow up. So I think this is the whole story about the experimentation and the creativity, and so some might say, well, there's so many things so many places to do this, but I think that's the point, right? Is that it does allow you to meet. We are meeting customers where they are, wherever, which interface and whatever demands they have on the application. But it wasn't only about apps, was it, April? There was also there was other aspects to this kind of natural language way of building software.
Yeah, for sure. There's they also talked about a workflows agent too, built into Microsoft 365 Copilot there. So again, giving you a way to do some of those automations within your Microsoft 365 Copilot experience, so that just another way again to meet you where you're at, depending on what you're doing. If you want to automate things and tools like Planner and Teams and Outlook, and to be able to have that kind of vibe coded way now to build automations and workflows there. So you just put in what you need to do. Like in this case, I want to be able to get an email automatically, like thank you confirmation and all that. And it actually goes and builds out a fully functioning workflow for you in the back end with this vibe coding experience. So, and all manageable there in the frontier environments right now in Microsoft 365 Copilot. So again, that's available in frontier environments. Cool to see how this all plays out and what use cases people will come up for this.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to see this one.
Yep.
And
Let's see.
yeah,
Go
so there's this is the thing, is that there are lots and lots of different ways of building apps, and that slide that you had before about comparing that new app building agent experience in M365 with Power Apps. But there was a big announcement about there being, as well as Generative Pages being, if you just go back to the previous slide, if the Generative Pages being GA, and that allows you to vibe code React pages that sit inside a model-driven app. And people have been using Plan Designer for a long time, which allows you to use natural language to define requirements, create process views, create data experience with different tables. And then what it would do is it would go and suggest model-driven apps or Canvas apps or agents or indeed Power Pages sites, all these different aspects of a solution. Well, what was unveiled is a brand new experience, a new Power Apps authoring experience, which had all of the cool stuff of Plan Designer. It's a kind of a brand new, fresh look to Plan Designer, so that the requirements agent kind of allowed you to create your user stories. The data agent allowed you to go and create all your different tables and sample data, all of that good stuff. And then the solution agent managing it as part of a solution. But then they introduced this new authoring experience with the code agent inside Power Apps. And that code agent is not just simply creating a single page like the Generative Pages does. The code agent is actually creating an entire app and built on top of Dataverse, so built on top of your different tables and with all of the APIs that gives you, but then creates more of a React app with multiple pages, navigation, and you can see here an example, like dashboards and something you would sort of more traditionally see as a line of business application. And the speed at which this was happening was just incredible, like a full business application with all of the different layers, all the full stack that you'd expect. But actually, what's interesting is this is very similar to code apps. So code apps we've had for a while. And so this is in public preview, and this was also talked about in the keynote and in various different sessions throughout the week. And what Code Apps is the ability to build that same kind of level of fully fledged app using React, but you would be using the tools that you may be used to using if you're already ProDev's full stack. So you'd be using VS Code or whatever your IDE of choice is. And then you can actually then deploy that into Power Apps and then get all of the benefit of the connectors to Dataverse, to whatever Power Platform connectors you want to use, all of the scalability, all of the deployability solutions, all of that kind of side of things, but still allows you to do it all inside your own IDE. So it's like two sides of the same coin here. We've got that new coding experience, which is allowing you to do natural language vibe coding built into Power Apps. But then on the other side of the coin, if you want to, you can then use your own IDE to do vibe coding, or even just if you wanted to, go crazy, just build stuff by hand. Like write code by well, that's something that's so last year, isn't it? But it all then deploys into the same environment with all the same controls and the same governability. So it's really exciting to see the same kind of platform. And that, I think, that's the message, is the managed platform is the key here. That's what's so special about Power Platform. It makes this safe space to be able to do this building, this experimenting, and then allows you to all of the enterprise grade features to allow you to roll that out.
Yeah, I mean that's what really stuck with me is like it's evolving, right? There's so many ways now with the Gen Pages and code apps and this new authoring experience to build, but also, there's tons of tools that can do this too. But with Power Platform, you know that you have a place to securely deploy it, that you don't have to worry about all of that other stuff. It's in a sandbox environment and a controlled environment in your tenant, and it has all those, the DLP policies, all those security guardrails, and everything that we love about the platform. And I just have to point out while we're on this slide, if people are looking at that logo and thinking something seems off, like we did get a new Power Apps logo, so they slightly tweaked it there. So you're not imagining things if you think something looks a little different there.
We actually got a new, if you look very carefully, the Power Automate logo, it has been updated as well. If you look very carefully, compare the old and the new, it's this kind of like shading kind of like effect. That's the kind of thing that, the new logos seem to be quite a theme, I think.
Oh, that's a thing. Yeah, I learned something new today. I didn't catch that Power Automate had a new logo, so that's something new. But so we talked a lot about some of the Power App stuff, but I think there's a lot more that was talked about at the conference. And I really love this message that they got across in one of the sessions here, which was about Power Apps are evolving, but without disrupting your foundation. Because I know that's been a concern for a lot of people is, what's going to happen? I have all this investment, in Canvas apps or something. And so what's going to happen to that foundation that we've already built on? So that was a message there that, the foundation is still there. And also this whole concept of applications as intelligent surfaces. So how can we make the apps that we're building more intelligent with some of the AI capabilities? So I mean, there's a lot covered here, like in the keynote alone, showing some stuff that has been out in preview for a while now, like the data exploration agent in our model-driven apps, that's going to be GA here next month, which was cool to see. Same thing with the data entry agent. They announced it's going GA in December as well, so that we can be able to have that kind of smart paste functionality where you can copy, even upload a file or copy text and have it automatically fill out your forms in your model-driven apps. And then something passionate and near and dear to my heart, since I kind of come from the Canvas app side of things in the past, is, what's going on there, So, and I was happy to see that were some new announcements for Canvas apps. And I think this will make a lot of people happy as far as responsive authoring. That's been a big pain point for all of us Canvas apps folks in the past. And, we've had containers and we've had steps in the right direction, but now they're announcing coming up here in Q4, true responsive authoring. So we're going to have a responsive template that we can choose from here. So it's responsive out of the box. And we're going to have, clearer container nesting and responsive child controls and flexible data layouts. So I think for everyone that has tried to build a true responsive app and Canvas apps, we're going to love this. We have the good
Eliza
container.
did a little demo of that on Power Apps Pulse last month, which was quite nice.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see these improvements in Canvas apps. And I think, a lot of people are saying, oh, so low code is dead then. Oh, well, then Canvas apps and model-driven apps are dead. But I think this just goes to show that there is no such thing as, you can't just say, okay, Canvas apps and model-driven apps are dead. This is giving more options and allowing people to kind of explore and experiment. And, I think, so many people are doing amazing things still with Canvas apps and model-driven apps. And it just goes to show that there are a lot of community sessions from people talking about the cool stuff they've done, and that huge body of knowledge that we have and the experience with Canvas apps and model-driven apps. None of that is going to go away, I don't think.
Oh, for sure. I think, it's still there, it's still needed. And yeah, there were tons of great community sessions talking about, the classic ways of building Canvas apps and all that. And they were really well attended. So there's still a strong demand. People still want to know the fundamentals of how to build good Canvas apps and good model-driven apps and those kind of building blocks there. So I think it just shows too in the announcements kind of that they had that they're still thinking about that. They're still supporting it and all that. Another big one that I know for my Canvas apps people that you've been wondering about for a while is modern controls too. So those have been in preview for a while, but those are going to be GA in January, February. So that was a much nice to see announcement there, so that we can have those more fluent UI, nicer looking, more modern controls. And one that I was really excited about too was modern templates. So as we know, in Canvas app, those templates that have been there are pretty old now, right? I think those are the OG 2016, 17 days. So they've been in need of some refresh. So we're going to get some modern templates as well, coming in Q1, which I'm really looking forward to. And so definitely, I think a lot of this stuff too, as far as modern controls and the responsive layouts, has been covered in the Power Apps Pulse. So if you're not checking that out on the Power Platform YouTube channel, definitely that's a good place to get your latest Power Apps updates there and some of these features that they're working on to improve the experience. Cool. All right. So I think that was, some of the biggest things in apps, but of course we can't talk about the conference without talking about agents. There was a ton of Copilot Studio and agents announcements here. So let's dive into those. I think we were talking about logos before, and I think this was another big
Yeah.
reveal.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Copilot Studio has a new logo. I think the new logo really signals basically a shift from point tools to a connected agent ecosystem where ideas become more working copilots. It's got a very modern form that aligns with the broader Copilot design system, which really reinforces that makers can design and orchestrate and deploy agents alongside apps within a very single coherent experience. As the conference underscored, Copilot Studio really is where intent meets orchestration, and the place to plan, the place to test, to measure, and evolve your agents that partner with people to deliver outcomes much faster. So in short, the icon really is a visual shorthand for an agent first platform that's built for makers and it's ready for business.
And initially, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to re-record videos and redo screenshots." And I was like, "Do we really need?" But you know what? I've been using Copilot Studio with the new icon and the little attention to details, the animations. It's really grown on me. It's like a kind of a new song from your favorite band, which you're firstly like, "Oh, I'm not so sure." You listen to it a few times, then you're like, "I really like this."
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. No, I completely agree. So what's new in Copilot Studio? Where are we going with it? As we already know, Copilot Studio is our low-code solution that empowers you to create standalone agents or extend your M365 copilots with custom agent experiences. So what exactly is new? We've embedded the agent builder experience directly into M365 Copilot BizChat and in SharePoint, as April previously mentioned. This means that we're democratizing agent creation, making it really accessible for end users and not just developers. So for makers who want to take the full breadth of capabilities, the web app experience is there to provide everything that's needed to build your very robust enterprise-grade agents. And as you can see on this slide, we now offer two tailored experiences. We've got the light experience for our end users that can create agents very quick and simple right inside of M365. And then we've got the full experiences that's there for our pro makers, where we can build a very take advantage of a very comprehensive environment for advanced customization and controls. And with Copilot Studio, we're enabling everyone from our casual users to professional makers to innovate and create AI-powered solutions very seamlessly. So let's begin by having a look at what we've added for makers in Copilot Studio to help them build and manage enterprise agents. I think the first major investment we've made is in our AI answers platform. One of the benefits of Copilot Studio is that it's a SaaS product, and so it's continually improving, and we're adding the latest state-of-the-art techniques to it. We've spent months rendering and redefining our RAG pipeline, and now agents can iterate over your data to get the most relevant content for any given query. So this improves response quality dramatically. So hopefully we've got audio on this slide here, April. I know this is a quick video.
So you can see here, I have a SharePoint site with a bunch of Molina healthcare plans in it. So if we open one you can see it's a PDF document, and they're between 20 and 40 pages long each. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. And to show you some of these improvements that we have made, I have two agents in front of you, one on the left side of the screen and one on the right side of the screen. So the one on the left side of the screen, I'm calling the before agent. So this is the one before we've applied these quality improvements. This is actually what's in production right now. And on the right side, I have an after agent. So this one should have better responses because I've enabled some of our new improvements. So both of these agents, all they do is point at that Molina healthcare plan. So we're going to paste the same prompt into each and see how it responds. So to do that, I'm going to paste in this question. What is my maximum out-of-pocket responsibility for Arizona 2024 plan? We'll send that in to both agents. So again, the one on the left is in production, and the one on the right is going to have our improvements. So they're both kind of querying SharePoint, preparing a response, and all that. So we can see the one on the left that I sent in first has responded, but it didn't even really give an answer. It does have some citations, but it says the available documents do not specify the exact maximum out-of-pocket responsibility, and it recommends referring to the further documents, and you can call. So even though it cited a few documents, wasn't able to find the answer. So the one on the right, if we look at that one, this is the one with the improvements. It actually gives a pretty good answer. So the maximum out-of-pocket responsibility for the Arizona 2024 health insurance plans are as follows. And it lists multiple plans and gives the out-of-pocket responsibility for each one. And what's interesting is if you look at these citations, they're actually the same citations. It's just that the one on the right was actually able to find the answer within those documents.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. We've also greatly improved the ability of agents to reason over structured data like Excel, CSV files that might be in SharePoint.
So you can see here, I have a SharePoint site with a bunch of Molina.
Sorry about that.
Let's pause that one real quick, April. But this is a very common customer ask from many of you that might be in this session right now. So every MCS agent now comes with a code interpreter that it can use to dynamically generate code to be able to parse and reason over structured data. And of course, we've added new knowledge sources, made enhancements for graph connectors, and added more controls for makers on how their agent uses knowledge. So in this video, here's kind of a bit of a glimpse of how our new code interpreter, how its capabilities, where the agent is generating code to interact with structured data.
Here I have an Excel file which has healthcare data from the state of California, which lists number of claims, illnesses, etc. I can ask two agents, one with the ability to generate and use code, and one without, to provide a line graph of diabetes patients year over year for Riverside County. And you can see the result. The agent on the left gives a verbose and largely irrelevant answer, while the one on the right uses its new code interpreter tool to generate the right code, extract the appropriate data from the various files, and execute that code to generate the requested chart. I can even upload documents in my chat and ask questions that are not present verbatim in the provided data. For example, this PDF doesn't provide a % breakup of the revenue. But if I ask, what's my revenue share from premiums? The agent will generate the right code to do the necessary calculations and provide the correct answer.
Yeah, so I know that one's going to excite a lot of people and a lot of my customers that I work with on a daily basis.
That's such a put down, isn't it? Like that, verbose and largely irrelevant.
Yep.
That answer was verbose and largely, but I think it's amazing to see where your agent can create on the fly Python code, because that's the key here, is that it's actually the code interpreter is giving the agent the ability to write code on the fly based on your instructions. Because we've had for a while the ability for prompts, so you can actually create deterministic Python code inside a prompt and then run that based on a certain trigger. But that was always going to run the same code each time. But this is actually writing code on the fly, which is so cool.
It was impressive to see. So next we've got a set of capabilities to help makers better understand their production traffic with different types of analytics, as well as run custom evaluations to assess their agents. Beyond analytics, we're introducing a powerful new capability called evaluations in Copilot Studio, and makers can now build and run very sophisticated tests to ensure agent quality before deployment, all within the same platform. So you can upload your own evaluation files and let AI generate queries that are based on your bot's knowledge and topics, or create custom queries that are tailored to your specific scenario. So this means that you can run structured tests and measure detailed results with grader-based scoring, and iterate until you reach the optimal passing score that you're looking for, which really gives you a lot more confidence that your agent is ready for production. We've also got our new analytics capabilities that give you deeper insights into how your agents perform and how users tend to perceive them, what sort of score they give them. So you can quickly view key metrics like engagement and satisfaction. You can analyze user feedback and optimize utilization. Plus, you'll see what you're paying. You can estimate savings and calculate ROI all from the same spot. And really the best part is that you can use natural language to ask questions and have multi-turn conversations with your analytics, which is going to, of course, make it much easier for you to be able to drill into the details and uncover any sort of actionable insights that you have. And then finally, Copilot Studio not only brings together all these capabilities for makers, it also allows admins to effectively govern and manage their agents as well. So this is a key strength for Copilot Studio platform, and we're continuing to light up various core governance capabilities, from agent inventory to advanced admin controls and billing policy capabilities and more.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great Copilot Studio updates. Just a reminder for those, watching here live, we do have experts in the chat to answer your questions. So if you're seeing a lot of this Copilot Studio stuff, like you want to know more about evaluations or any of that stuff, we have Copilot Studio Dude and other people from the product team as well in the chat to answer questions. So make sure to do that. One thing that stood out to me too that was announced was this whole model choice. So now inside of our agents, we can not only have access to the GPT models that we've used before, like 4.1 and all that, and the reasoning model, but we have Anthropic models that we can access too. So Opus and Sonnet both are supported in our agents. So really cool. I've been testing those a little bit myself just to see, the differences and output and use cases. Really excited to see those new models available here in our agent experience in Copilot Studio.
I did a workshop on the Sunday before the main conference on using Foundry and bringing in Foundry models. So you could kind of create a model and you can fine tune it, add all the various different knowledge, different capabilities, and then bring that into your agent. So it's nice to see this increase in the managed agents, because that's the key. We've got managed models that are built in, so you can select and then you can bring your own models from Foundry. One of the really interesting things which I really like about the Anthropic models is if you select them, they are really good at multi-turn reasoning. So, and what you can see now is actually it shows you the step-by-step thinking. It's like the chain of thought thinking. So what you'll see is when you choose one of those like Sonnet, Opus, you'll see, oh, I'm now going to do this, and oh, I'm thinking about that, and I found that this is a difference between this and that, and you'll see the reasoning before it gives you that final result. And I think that is really the next level of where these agents really can start to really create so much more intelligence than just that traditional, you ask a question, it gives a response. It's where it iterates and it continually uses different tools based on that thinking.
Yeah, I agree, Scott. I've been playing around with Claude lately and a couple of agents that I've been building, and it blows my mind to see the back and forth thinking that it's doing as it's coming up with the response well before it gives it to me. It's pretty fascinating. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we we're finally bringing together a lot of the capabilities for makers to allow admins to effectively govern and manage their agents. So this is a key strength for the Copilot Studio platform, and we're continuing to light up various core governance capabilities, rather, from any sort of agent inventory to advanced admin controls and billing policies and capabilities as well. So now we offer an enhanced admin experience that will help admins get started with agents and Copilot Studio. So this is a place for you to go to see what's new, turn on and off any sort of Gen AI settings, track the adoption costs and the ROI. And if you're administering an environment with agents, or if you are a tenant admin, I'd advise you to go check it out. It's available right now. This month, we're also introducing a new inventory experience. This is a very common thing that I get in my role, is understanding inventory. This will give admins very complete visibility into all the agents across your tenant, alongside apps and flows, of course, inside of the Power Platform Admin Center. So, for example, MSIT right now manages over 1.6 million assets, and now they can see and manage all of them from one place. So this inventory page is fast, it's scalable, it's always up to date. And we have new inventory APIs as well that will let you connect this data to other systems. So you can build custom views and reports that are a little bit more tailored to your organization's needs. And we've also got a new host of admin controls that allow you to place makers directly in their own personal workspaces and to configure guardrails that allow them to build safely. So all you admins out there, sleep well. You can confidently know that that your users aren't breaking stuff. You've got a lot more control than any other platform to govern agent adoption at scale. And of course, a key part of governance is also managing costs. So our new experience here allows you to see what users and agents are costing you as an organization. You can place capacity limits on the different agents, charge back your sub-organizations. And this flexibility handle can be any sort of usage spikes that you have can be handled using your pay-as-you-go models as well.
Yeah, I really like seeing some of these announcements because I think as we move from, kind of seeing what agents can do and, testing the waters to using those more for like enterprise scenarios, we need a lot of these, governance and monitoring and testing capabilities. So it was cool to see such a focus and emphasis and so many announcements there at the event.
And of course, that governance the focus is around people, but also of agents. And I think that's what's very fascinating, is seeing this, the tools coming in there to enable us to manage and govern agents in the same way as we manage and govern people. You need the same kind of guardrails. You need the same kind of level of visibility and control and be able to investigate what they're doing, etc. And there was a lot of talk about multi-agent. We've all seen that slide, with the people and the agents all connected together in this kind of big graph. And the reality is actually happening. And we've got in Copilot Studio for a while, we've been able to have connected agents and child agents. So you can actually add in kind of a distribution of your logic amongst multiple different agents, each of those agents having different capabilities and specialisms. But we've also then, the announcement was that coming forwards is the Agent SDK, Agent Connectivity, Agent AI Foundry, Agent Connectivity, Fabric Agent. So it's a real kind of explosion of the number of different agents we connect to, and also there's this was kind of this sneaked in as a sort of a small piece of information, but that execute agent action allows us inside an agent flow just to go and delegate something to another agent. So rather than calling a connector to do something inside an agent flow and that kind of deterministic, it's like you're using some deterministic logic, and then you're kind of just sort of swapping out to a non-deterministic agent action waiting for that response, and then kind of carrying on. So I thought that was quite a fascinating combination of, rather than just being purely the orchestrator orchestrating between agents, but actually explicitly saying, well, under this circumstance, yes, we want to go and have the agent do something. And then another one, which was quite interesting. We've talked about Power Apps, right? We've talked about the fact that there's still investment inside Canvas apps, but this whole Power Automate kind of agent flow discussion was still very much on everyone's lips in the corridors. People are saying, well, when would I use Power Apps? Sorry, when would I use Power Automate versus when would I use agent flow? But it's certainly clear that there are a lot of interesting advancements coming to agent flow. So specifically, like flows inside Copilot Studio, and so the inline editing experience has now gone general availability, and I've been using it, and it's actually really, really neat. I really like the way that it's sort of it's like it used to be, but better.
Yeah, the amount of people that applauded that in the keynote when they slipped that little one in there was was pretty telling. But yeah, it is. It's we want the classic experience, but it has a modern, updated twist on it. I love it too.
And then version history and solution flows. Again, this has gone into general availability. So for a while, we've been able to have the ability to turn on version history, so you can kind of actually revert back to previous versions. You can make changes before you actually publish it, which again is such a welcome, one of these real productivity changes to make it easier to build these agent flows. So Dataverse as well. There was content on Dataverse. I mean, it's easy to kind of think that it's all about Copilot Studio, it's all about Power Apps, but Dataverse is sort of this kind of quietly making improvements, and a lot of the improvements are all obviously about supporting being able to build agents on top of Dataverse, and also being able to vibe code and using all these coding agents. So we're seeing new SDKs to enable us to interact with Dataverse. So there's a Python SDK. Inside prompts, we've had the ability to call Dataverse using Python already for a while now. But there's also some improvements to the way in which the MCP server works. So those was announced as coming soon. So more advanced tools. So for example, create table, update table, delete table. Before we had the ability to create records, read records, query, but now actually being able to use it to actually create the tables, which is fascinating. And also support for remote MCP servers in VS Code. So rather than having to have it running locally on your machine, being able to connect to a remote MCP is going to make it a lot easier to use it in different clients. But a big one actually was the ability to enable and disable tools inside Copilot Studio. And you know what? I think this comes in hand with number one, because you can just imagine adding in a Dataverse MCP server to your Copilot, enabling an Anthropic model, which does all this crazy chain of thought, and then having the ability to create tables. You can just imagine what it's going to go and do. It's going to go, well, I can't solve that. You know what? I'm going to go and create a table for you. And then, yeah, so you can now turn off the tools that you want to use. So you can turn off create table and modify table. And so, yeah, there is this constant investment in the foundational tools. And I think there was another slide on the AI search as well. So that we've had all these features coming prompt columns for a while now, but we're having fuzzy searching using semantic interpretation of equivalency, like quiet equals peaceful, etc. So the platform is continually evolving to support all of this innovation at this agentic level, which is really quite exciting. And so Power Pages was also mentioned. There was a State of the Union session, which was great, kind of gave a full picture of all the different innovations happening. I also did a session on vibe coding inside Power Pages, but there were too many innovations and enhancements to mention. But just to pick out a few, what struck me was this security agent for Pages. So for a long time, we've had this the enhancements in Power Pages to show security scanning to make sure that your site is secure, that you're not exposing any data that you don't want to, making sure it's secure by default. Loads of enhancements there, but then this security agent is fascinating, where it's actually understanding your site metadata. And it's an autonomous agent that's scanning your site for vulnerabilities and looking for things like phishing and all these kind of attacks. So I'm going to spend some quality time with the security agent in the coming weeks, I think. But then another one, which perhaps you might not have noticed, which is server-side logic, which is very interesting, because server-side logic allows us to execute logic on the server inside Power Pages rather than having it running inside JavaScript. It means that we can actually have deterministic logic that's called similar to calling like a flow, but this is logic that's written in JavaScript, which then you can invoke from the client side. And then, of course, having bring your own code. So this is like the vibe coding story for Power Pages. So in the same way as we've got code apps for Power Apps, we can actually use VS Code to generate React code, and then we can deploy that into Power Pages. And we had some really amazing demos of the kind of the things that you can do there. And this truly is like Power Pages reborn. We're talking about we were talking about the Power Platform reborn, but this is actually enables so many more opportunities. So the real theme there was that there are all of these investments. It's very easy to kind of see that keynote and just kind of think that, well, it's all about, Copilot Studio, all about the new coding, the new maker experience. But we also had lots and lots of sessions, real quality sessions showing that investment at the platform level.
Yeah, and if you haven't been able to tell yet, this is why we need 3 people to do a recap session, because there's so many different announcements and areas to cover, from the Microsoft sessions, the community sessions. We still have Power Pages, Dataverse, apps, agents, automation. There's just tons of ground to cover. So thankfully we were able to kind of group it and break it apart and then like tackle different areas here to cover all this. But I know I learned a lot. Just I didn't know about some of these Power Pages stuff. I missed those sessions, and
Yeah, same.
yeah, so good to know. All right, well, I think we are kind of wrapping up here at the end here. Hopefully you all got all your questions in and answered from our experts in the chat here.
Yeah, I really want to thank everybody for joining. Hopefully you got something from this. Again, we're here to support you. This is a really great and strong community of individuals. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we'll be posting a copy of today's recording and our slides that we shared to the Master Series Hub, where there's a lot of great content out there, other sessions as well that we're constantly doing, and even industry specific sessions at that. Scott, April, do you want to mention a little bit about the Agent Academy?
Do we want to talk about Agent Academy? Of course we want to talk about Agent Academy. Yeah, so I mean, obviously at the conference, right, there's tons of announcements on agents. And so if you want to really get up to speed, if you're kind of dipping your toes in the water, or maybe you want to learn some more advanced concepts, our team, Scott, myself, Daniel, Eliza, we put together Agent Academy. So it's kind of free, self-paced, guided curriculum to get you started building agents in Copilot Studio. We'll be releasing our next path of this, Operative, coming up here in a couple weeks. And Scott mentioned multi-agents. I hear there's multi-agent scenarios to cover in that. So lots of good things to learn from that. So definitely check that out if you want to get hands-on, and give us your feedback and let us know what you think.
Yeah, perfect. I think the last thing to maybe mention is Ignite's coming up in about a week and a half or so. I've got a feeling, Scott, you and April would probably know better than me, but I've got a feeling some of the big stuff that they shared at the Power Platform Community Conference, some things might have been held back, and they're waiting to really share some stuff at Ignite. We're looking to do, the Master Series is looking to do another session to kind of similar to what we have here, kind of wrap up everything and bundle it to you guys in a 1-hour session. So we're going to do that on December 4th. We would love to have done it a week after the session ends, but that happens to be Thanksgiving. So hopefully everybody's stuffing themselves with turkey and ham. But you guys are welcome to sign up now and get yourselves into the session, and we'd be happy to have you as part of the conversation.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sure there'll be tons more to cover then. So looking forward to it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And yeah, thanks very much, Jeff.
Yeah, you got it. April, Scott, I appreciate your time. Thanks again for everything. And folks, for everybody that joined, thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. See you soon.